The night was colder than Jack had ever felt before. The snowstorm howled like a wild animal, tearing through the lonely forest. The trees stood tall and dark, their branches heavy with ice. Jack's breath came out in short white clouds as he pushed forward, his boots crunching through the deep snow. He had been walking for hours, searching for shelter before the storm grew worse. Then, through the fog and swirling snow, something strange appeared, a faint blue light, flickering between the trees. It wasn't the color of a campfire or flashlight. It pulsed softly, almost alive. Jack stopped. For a long moment, he just stared at it. Then he heard it, and a sound that froze his heart. It was a voice. A child's voice. "Please, help!" Jack's heart jumped. He shouted back, "Who's there?" No answer, only the sound of the wind. But then it came again, weaker this time. "Please, someone, help!" He followed the sound pushing through the snow. The blue light grew brighter. His hands were numb, his face burned from the cold, but he kept going. Something inside him said this was important. Someone needed him. When he finally stepped into a small clearing, he froze. There beside a frozen stream knelt a little girl. Her skin glowed faintly silver, and her long white hair shimmered like frost. She looked up at him with huge, tearful eyes too large and shining to belong to any human. Beside her lay a woman, still motionless, her skin a pale shade of blue, her lips colorless. Jack's voice trembled. "Are you people?" The girl shook her head weakly. "No, my mom. She's dying. Please, human, help her." Jack's breath caught. "Human? Did she just call him human?" He looked at the woman again. She wasn't breathing. Her clothes looked strange, like a soft metallic fabric glowing faintly in the dark. The girl clutched a small pendant that hung from her neck. It glowed with the same blue light he had seen from the forest. He dropped to his knees beside them. "What happened to her?" "The cold," the girl whispered. "She saved me. Now she's dying." Her small shoulders shook as she sobbed, her tears turning to ice before they touched the ground. Jack didn't know what to do. He wasn't a doctor, but he couldn't just leave them. The storm was getting worse. He wrapped his thick coat around the woman, lifting her carefully. She was light and too light, like holding air. "Come on," he said. "We need to get her somewhere warm." The girl stood, following closely. Her small hands glowed faintly as she pressed them against her mother's chest, whispering words Jack didn't understand. The woman's chest rose slightly, but her breathing was shallow. As they struggled back through the storm, Jack looked at the girl. Her feet barely sank into the snow. It was like the storm didn't touch her. The glow from her body lit the path ahead, guiding him through the darkness. Finally, his cabin came into view, a small wooden house buried under layers of snow. Smoke still rose weakly from the chimney. He kicked open the door and hurried inside, laying the woman on a blanket near the fire. The girl knelt beside her, holding the pendant over her mother's heart. "Please," she whispered, "wake up." Jack grabbed a towel, rubbing the woman's frozen hands. He placed another log on the fire, the heat slowly filling the room. The girl's pendant glowed brighter for a moment, and then the woman gasped for air. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly like the stars outside. Jack stepped back, shocked. The air around her shimmered like heat rising from a desert road. The woman looked at him weakly. Her voice was soft, almost musical. "You helped us." Jack didn't know what to say. He had 1,000 questions, but before he could ask, the window rattled. A sharp metallic hum echoed through the woods outside. The little girl's eyes widened with fear. "They found us," she whispered. Jack turned toward the sound. The same strange blue light now flashed again, moving fast between the trees. Whoever or whatever into was coming, it wasn't human, and Jack realized this night was far from over. The wind roared outside like an angry beast, shaking the walls of Jack's small cabin. Inside, the fire cracked weakly, struggling against the cold. Jack dropped to his knees beside the alien woman, who was barely breathing. Her skin glowed faintly blue, veins shimmering with light under her skin. The little alien girl sat close, clutching her mother's hand with trembling fingers. Jack's mind raced. He had helped people before, hikers, hunters, lost travelers, but this was different. This woman wasn't from Earth, and yet, as she lay there gasping, he could only see one thing, a mother fighting to stay alive. "Please," the girl whispered again. "You can save her, human." Jack looked around the cabin. He had a first aid kit, a small heater, and a pot of boiling water. I'll try, he said, pulling his blanket over the woman. She needs warmth. The girl's silver eyes shimmered in the firelight. It's not just the cold, she said softly. Her heart can't hold your world's air. It's too heavy. Too dry, Jack frowned. Then what can I do? The girl reached into her mother's coat and pulled out a small, glowing pendant, the same one she had used earlier. She needs the core light. It gives her life. It connects her to our world. The pendant pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Jack stared at it, unsure what he was seeing. It didn't look like technology, it looked alive. Can it heal her? He asked. Only if it has power left, the girl said, tears forming in her strange eyes. The hunters broke it when we escaped. Jack leaned closer. Hunters? The girl nodded, fear flickering across her face. They took us from our ship. My mom fought them. We crashed near here. She looked toward the frosted window. They will come again. Jack looked out into the storm. The forest was dark and silent, but he could feel it. Something was out there, watching. He turned back to the girl. We'll deal with that when it happens. First, we save your mom. He poured warm water into a bowl and dipped a cloth into it, pressing it gently against the alien woman's forehead. Her body shivered and a soft hum came from her chest, like the sound of wind passing through metal. Then the pendant flickered again. A faint beam of blue light ran from it to her chest. The girl gasped. It's working. The woman's breathing deepened slightly, her fingers twitching. Jack could see tiny sparks of light flowing through her veins. He didn't understand it, but it looked beautiful. Alive. But before relief could settle, a new sound cut through the night. A low metallic hum, distant but growing louder. The girl froze. They found us. She whispered again, voice trembling. Jack grabbed his flashlight and stepped to the window. The snow outside glowed faintly, moving shapes between the trees. He squinted and saw them, dark metal figures gliding silently through the snow. They had no faces, only glowing red eyes. Drones. But not like any human-made machines he'd ever seen. He turned to the girl. Get away from the window. The girl hugged her mother tightly. They want her alive. They want me dead. Jack's stomach twisted. Why? Because I carry the core light now, she whispered. When it broke, part of it entered me. Before Jack could respond, the cabin shook, a loud crash as one of the drones slammed into the roof. Dust rained from the ceiling. The woman stirred weakly, her eyes opening for a brief second. Run, she whispered. They come. Jack grabbed his old shotgun from the wall, heart pounding. He hadn't used it in years, but it was the only weapon he had. Stay behind me, he said. The little girl stood beside her mother, her hands glowing faintly. If they come inside, she said softly, I'll protect you. A crash of glass, a drone smashed through the window, red lights flashing. Jack fired. The blast tore through the machine, sparks flying everywhere. The fire flared from the shockwave. Smoke filled the cabin. The girl's eyes glowed brighter. She raised her hands and a wave of blue light exploded outward, knocking the other drones back through the walls. Silence. Only the crackle of fire and the sound of wind remained. Jack turned to her, stunned. What are you? The little alien girl looked at him with calm, glowing eyes. A daughter, she said softly. And now, your only chance to survive. Outside, more lights moved through the forest, red, fast, and closing in. Jack knew this wasn't over. Not even close, the cabin shook again. The sound of metal footsteps echoed from outside, slow, heavy, and full of purpose. The fire flickered, throwing wild shadows on the walls. Jack gripped his shotgun tighter, sweat forming on his cold skin. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. The alien girl stood near her mother, her silver eyes glowing softly in the dim light. They're close, she whispered. I can feel them. They're tracking the core light. Jack glanced out the broken window. The snow outside glowed red. Beams of scanning lights moved through the forest, sweeping between the trees like searching eyes. The storm had grown weaker now, but that made the danger clearer. There were at least 5 of them, maybe more, moving silently toward the cabin. Who are they? Jack asked. They are not alive, the girl said quietly. They serve those who took us. Machines built for hunting and taking. My mother destroyed many before, but she's too weak now. Jack's jaw tightened. Then we'll handle them our way. The woman on the floor stirred slightly, her breathing slow but steady. Her voice came out soft, almost a whisper. Jack, human, you cannot fight them. You must run. Jack shook his head. Running won't save anyone. They'll follow your heat, your light, and mine. He moved quickly, dragging a heavy dresser in front of the door. The girl stood silently, watching him, her small hands glowing faintly again. They will break through, she said. They always do. Jack forced a smile. Then we'll make them regret it. Outside, the snow crunched. A metallic claw pressed against the window frame. Then another. A long, sharp sound cut through the night, metal scraping against wood. The glass cracked. Jack raised his gun. Stay down. The window shattered. A black drone burst through, its red eyes flashing, its body covered in frost. It moved like a spider, fast and sharp. Jack fired. The shotgun roared, and the drone crashed into the wall, sparks flying. But another one crawled through the doorway, its claws cutting deep marks into the floor. The girl screamed, a sound not of fear but of fury. The air around her shimmered with blue light. She raised her hand and a pulse of energy exploded outward, throwing the second drone back through the wall. It landed outside with a crash, smoke rising. Jack stared at her, amazed. You can do that? The girl looked down at her hands, trembling. Only a little. The core light inside me. It's growing, but it hurts when I use it. The mother opened her eyes weakly. Stop, child. You will burn your life away. Jack knelt beside her. We can't stay here. More will come, the woman nodded slowly. You must go to the mountains. There is a place where the light cannot reach and the shadows will hide us. Then we'll go, Jack said firmly. He grabbed his pack and tossed in extra shells, a flashlight, and 2 water bottles. Can she walk? The woman tried to move but groaned in pain. No, the girl said, tears forming. She cannot. Jack looked around, then pulled his old sled from under the bed. We'll use this. It's not much, but it'll do. They worked fast. The girl wrapped her mother in blankets, her small hands glowing as she whispered strange words again. The pendant on her chest flickered as if answering her call. Then came the sound again. Not footsteps this time, but a deep, metallic roar from above. The roof groaned. Jack looked up through a crack and saw a shape in the sky. Huge, dark, and moving fast. A ship. Black, smooth, and silent except for the low hum of power. They found us, the girl whispered. That's their command ship. Jack's stomach turned. Then we move, now. He opened the back door, the cold slapping his face like a warning. The girl helped him drag the sled through the snow. Behind them, the cabin glowed in the firelight, then exploded as a red beam shot down from the sky. The shockwave threw them forward into the snow. Jack coughed, covering his face. When he looked up, the cabin was gone. Only burning wood and black smoke remained. The girl looked back with tears in her shining eyes. That was our last shelter. Jack gritted his teeth. Then we'll make the whole world our shelter. He stood, lifting the sled again. Let's move. Above them, the alien ship circled slowly, scanning the white wilderness. The hunt had begun. The night was endless and cruel. Snow fell like ashes from a dying sky as Jack pulled the sled through the forest. His hands were raw, his breath heavy, his heartbeat loud in his ears. On the sled, the alien woman lay wrapped in blankets, her skin glowing faintly beneath the layers. The little alien girl walked beside them, her small form almost lost in the storm, yet somehow her steps made no sound. The ship above them moved slowly, scanning the ground with red light. Every few minutes the beam would sweep across the trees, lighting the world in blood-red color. Jack and the girl pressed low each time, holding their breath until the light passed. How far to the mountains? Jack whispered. Not far, the girl said softly, but they will not stop. The hunters can smell the core light inside us. Jack frowned, glancing at her. Smell it? They track the energy, she explained. To them, it is like a scent, something that calls them home. Jack gritted his teeth. Then let's hope they get lost in the snow. The girl said nothing. She looked up at the sky, her silver eyes reflecting the red glow of the ship. They never get lost. They pushed on for hours. The forest grew thicker, the air sharper. Jack's legs ached, but he didn't stop. Every time he looked at the little girl, her calm strength pushed him forward. She didn't cry. She didn't complain. She only looked ahead, determined. At last, the trees opened into a wide, frozen plain. The moon broke through the clouds for a moment, silver light touching the snow. Far away, black mountains rose like teeth against the sky. There, The girl whispered. Beyond those peaks. A hidden valley. My mother said the air there is thin, but safe. No machines can follow. Jack nodded. Then that's where we're going. They started across the open ground, but halfway through a low hum vibrated beneath their feet. Jack stopped instantly. The girl's eyes widened. They're here. From the distance, several dark shapes appeared, gliding fast over the snow. Hunter drones, their red eyes burning through the fog. The air filled with their mechanical screech. Run! Jack shouted. He grabbed the sled rope and ran, the girl beside him. The wind whipped against his face. The woman on the sled stirred weakly, whispering words in her alien language. Her hand glowed blue and a faint energy shield flickered around them, slowing the hunters for a moment. But it wouldn't hold. A drone fired a red beam, striking the snow beside them. Ice exploded into the air. Jack stumbled but didn't stop. Keep going, he yelled. The girl raised her hands, blue light crackling between her fingers. She turned, releasing a wave of energy that hit one of the drones, sending it crashing to the ground. The explosion lit the sky. Jack glanced back, amazed and terrified. You can fight them? Her voice trembled, only for a few seconds. Then the pain starts. They reached the edge of a frozen river. The current beneath the ice made low groaning sounds, like the earth itself was alive. The girl pointed ahead. Across this. The valley is close. Jack tested the ice with his foot. Solid, but not safe. Hold on, he said, tightening his grip on the sled rope. They ran across. The ice cracked beneath them, echoing like thunder. Behind them, the hunters closed in. One fired again. The beam hit the river, melting a wide path. Water gushed upward in a burst of steam. The sled slipped. Jack lost his footing. The alien woman rolled off, landing hard against the ice. The girl screamed, running to her. Mom! Jack crawled forward, pulling them both back onto the sled. We're almost there. The girl pressed her glowing hands against the pendant on her chest. The air shimmered. The pendant responded, glowing brighter. Then the ground shook. A symbol appeared on the ice. A glowing circle that spread outward like a pulse of light. The water beneath turned calm and blue. A strange hum filled the air. What is that? Jack whispered. The girl's voice was full of awe. The gate. My mother's last hope. But before the gate could open, the sky above blazed red. The hunters had found them again, descending fast. The ground shook as they landed, surrounding them. Jack stood in front of the girl, shotgun ready. The aliens had cornered them. The gate wasn't fully open. The girl looked up, fear and determination mixing in her eyes. If the core light fails, she said softly, we all die. The wind howled. The mountain peaks loomed ahead, and the battle for their lives was about to begin. The wind screamed across the frozen plain. Snow swirled like ghosts in the night. Jack stood firm, shotgun raised as red lights glowed through the storm. The hunters were closing in, tall black machines with sharp insect-like limbs and glowing red eyes. Their bodies moved with unnatural grace, silent and deadly. The alien girl clutched the pendant against her chest, its blue light flickering weakly. The ice beneath them pulsed with strange symbols, glowing patterns that spread like veins of light. The alien woman lay on the sled, barely breathing, her eyes open just enough to whisper, the gate, it must open. Jack glanced at the girl. How do we open it? It listens to the core light, she said, voice trembling. It listens to her, and to me. A red beam slashed through the air, hitting the snow beside them. The blast knocked Jack off balance. The ground shook as the first hunter landed only a few meters away, metal claws digging into the ice. The girl screamed and the pendant flared. A burst of blue energy shot forward, hitting the hunter square in the chest. The machine froze, its lights flickering, then shattered into pieces of glowing ash. Jack pushed himself up. Good shot, the girl shook her head. It's not enough. There are too many. She was right. 4 more hunters approached from the shadows, moving in a circle. Their red beams scanned the area, focusing on the mother's glowing body. They were after her. The alien woman stirred, her voice faint but clear. Protect, my child. Jack stood over her. You don't need to tell me twice, he fired. The blast hit one hunter, spinning it backward. Another jumped toward him, claws flashing. Jack ducked, swinging the shotgun like a club, hitting its head with all his strength. Sparks flew as the machine staggered. The girl raised her hand again. Blue lightning burst from her palm, cutting through the air. The hunter exploded into fragments, but every time she used that power, she screamed, pain searing through her small body. The light around her dimmed a little more each time. Jack grabbed her shoulder. "Stop, you're hurting yourself." Tears streaked down her face. "If I stop, they take her." Another red beam flashed by, grazing Jack's arm. He shouted in pain, dropping to one knee. The smell of burnt cloth filled the air. The girl cried out his name, and in that moment, the pendant on her chest glowed brighter than ever before. Pure blue light, strong and alive. The ice beneath them cracked open, revealing a deep, glowing rift. From its depths rose a column of blue energy that swirled like a living storm. The hunters paused, their systems flickering. The air vibrated with power. Jack shielded his eyes. "What's happening?" The girl's voice was barely a whisper. "The gate is listening." The alien woman raised her hand weakly, her eyes glowing faintly with the same blue light. Her voice echoed, not just in sound but through the air itself, as if the storm carried her words. "Core light, open the path." The entire plane trembled. The rift widened, blue light pouring upward like a river of stars. Jack could see something beyond it, a world of floating lights and shining skies. The aliens' home. The hunters charged all at once, their red eyes burning. Jack stood between them and the girl. "You're not taking them," he shouted. He fired again. One fell. Another reached him, claw raised. But before it could strike, the girl screamed, and the entire rift exploded with energy. A shockwave of blue light burst outward, blasting through the hunters like paper. Their bodies shattered, scattering into the wind like black dust. The light expanded across the ice, breaking it apart, flooding everything in a blinding glow. When the storm cleared, silence fell. Jack lay on the ground, breathing hard. The ice around him glowed faintly. The hunters were gone. The girl knelt beside him, trembling. Her mother's eyes were closed, but a faint smile touched her lips. The pendant on the girl's chest glowed softly, stronger now, steady and calm. Jack looked at the rift. It shimmered like a mirror of light, swirling gently. "It's open," he said softly. The girl nodded. "The way home." But the air around them was unstable, cracking with energy. The rift wouldn't last long. Jack knew they had to decide, now or never. He helped the woman up, though she could barely stand. The girl looked at him, tears glowing in her eyes. "Come with us, human, you saved us." Jack looked at the rift, then at the burning sky behind them. He hesitated, because leaving meant never coming back. And as the wind howled around them, he realized that maybe he didn't belong to this world anymore. The wind howled like a wounded beast across the frozen plain. The blue rift shimmered before them, a swirling window of light and warmth cutting through the endless cold. It pulsed like a heartbeat, alive and calling. Beyond it, Jack could see another world. Bright skies, floating islands, and rivers of glowing mist. A place that didn't belong to Earth. A place that didn't belong to him. The little alien girl held her mother's hand tightly. Both of them stood at the edge of the light, their silver hair glowing softly. The mother's strength was fading fast. She looked half transparent now, her body pulsing faintly with the rhythm of the rift. Jack could feel it too. The hum of power, the air trembling with energy. The storm had gone silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. "Come," the girl said softly, reaching out her hand to Jack. "You saved us. You must come with us. The gate won't stay open for long." Jack's chest tightened. He looked back at the white wasteland behind him. The burning wreck of his cabin, the black sky heavy with smoke. His old life, empty, cold, and lonely. Then he looked forward, at them. A fragile child with courage stronger than any human he'd ever known. A dying mother who had risked everything to protect her, and the light of another world that promised peace. He stepped closer, his boots cracking the thin ice beneath him. "If I go with you," he said, his voice low, "I can't come back." "Can I?" The mother smiled weakly. "No, the rift will close behind us. Two worlds cannot touch for long. One must stay behind." The girl shook her head, tears shining in her eyes. "You don't belong here, Jack. You're not like the others." "You helped without asking anything. You saved my mom when no one else would. You have to come with us." Jack stared into her glowing eyes, so full of hope, so full of innocence. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to walk into that light and never look back. But something deep inside him whispered no. Someone had to make sure the hunters, or whatever sent them, never returned. Someone had to guard the gate. He knelt beside her. "Listen," he said gently. "Your mother needs you. Your world needs you. But my world? He looked back at the ruined forest. It still needs people who don't give up. Even if it's just one man. The girl's voice broke. But you'll die here. Jack smiled faintly. Maybe. But that's what humans do best. We fight for others even when it hurts. The mother placed her trembling hand on his shoulder.
Human, you carry the heart of a warrior.
The core light remembers kindness. It will not forget you. Jack felt warmth spread through him, the same blue glow wrapping around his chest. The pendant on the girl's neck flared brighter for a moment, then split in two. A fragment of the glowing crystal floated into Jack's hands. For you, the girl whispered, so you'll never be alone. He closed his hand around it, the light pulsing like a heartbeat. Thank you. The rift began to shrink, its edges folding inward. The air trembled and the ice beneath them cracked louder. Time was running out. Jack stood tall. Go now! The girl hesitated. Jack, go! He shouted, his voice echoing across the plain. The mother wrapped her arms around her daughter and stepped into the light. The girl reached back one last time, her fingers glowing faintly. Then they vanished into the blue, the rift sealing behind them with a soft, whispering hum. The plain went silent. The sky turned gray again. The cold returned like a breath of death. Jack stood there, staring at the empty space where the light had been. In his hand, the small crystal still glowed faintly, a tiny piece of another world. The storm began again, snow falling gently on his shoulders. He turned toward the horizon. In the distance, red lights blinked, the last of the hunters still searching. Jack's eyes hardened. Come on then, he muttered. Let's finish this. He lifted his shotgun and walked into the storm, one man against the darkness, carrying the light of two worlds in his hand. And though he didn't know it yet, far beyond the stars, a legend had begun of the human who stayed behind so that others could live. Snow fell silently on the frozen plain, covering the scars of battle. The hunters were gone, shattered and scattered like ash in the wind. The rift had vanished, leaving behind nothing but silence and ice. Jack stood alone under a gray sky. The wind tore at his coat, the cold biting deep into his bones. In his gloved hand, the small crystal shard pulsed with faint blue light, the last piece of the alien world. It was warm, alive and steady, like a heartbeat reminding him he wasn't truly alone. He looked toward the horizon where the rift had once glowed. I hope you made it, he murmured. His breath turned to mist, vanishing into the air. The days that followed blurred into one endless storm. Jack returned to what was left of his cabin. Only a few blackened beams remained. He built a small shelter from the ruins, lighting a weak fire each night. Every night he stared at the crystal. It glowed brighter when he spoke to it, like it could hear him. Sometimes he could almost hear a voice inside. The soft laughter of the little alien girl, the gentle hum of her mother's song. He began to talk to it every day. You'd laugh at me, he'd say with a tired smile. Still alive, still freezing, still fighting the cold. Weeks passed. The snow grew deeper, the air thinner. Jack grew weaker, but his spirit didn't fade. One night, when the sky cleared for the first time in months, he saw it. A single star shining brighter than all the others. The light flickered. Once, twice, then in a pattern. A signal. Jack laughed softly. So you found a way to say hello, huh? He lifted the crystal toward the sky. Guess this means you didn't forget me. That night he fell asleep by the fire, holding the glowing shard close to his chest. His last thoughts were not of fear, but peace. The snow whispered outside, wrapping the world in silence. When morning came, the storm had ended. The sky was clear, painted in soft blue and gold. The fire had burned out. Jack sat against the wall, eyes closed, a faint smile on his lips. The crystal in his hand glowed softly, pulsing one last time before turning still. 50 years later, across the stars in a city of glass and light beneath twin suns, the alien girl, now grown, stood before a vast council. She was tall and radiant, her silver hair flowing like water, her eyes bright with strength. Around her neck hung the same pendant, restored whole once more. Behind her, a great hologram shimmered into view. A tall human man in a tattered coat standing in the snow, holding a blue crystal. The crowd fell silent. The girl, now known as Elira, spoke softly, her voice echoing across the hall. He was not one of us, she said. He was human, from a world of cold storms and fragile hearts. But when we were hunted, he gave everything to protect us. He did not run. He did not fear. He stood alone, and he fought for life, not for power. The council members bowed their heads. Some wept. Elira looked out the tall glass window at the endless stars. He taught me that courage is not born from strength, it is born from compassion. That kindness is stronger than fear, that even in the darkest world there can still be light. She lifted the pendant and it shone with brilliant blue fire. The energy filled the room, projecting a wave of light across the city. Every screen, every tower, every ship orbiting the planet lit up with one message, written in both alien symbols and English, for the human who stayed behind. Across the galaxy, people stopped what they were doing. Pilots looked out of their cockpits, children pointed at the sky, and old veterans saluted the light.